After two relatively calm weeks from an injury perspective, the Brown stuff has hit the fan officially in the NFL because we have a lot to discuss here on this Friday. Plenty of injury news coming down the pipe for today. We got Dalvin Cook to talk about, no Deontay Johnson, likely no T. Higgins, and a lot of stuff to dissect in breaking down the Week 3 main slate. We'll talk about that and also do a snake draft live on air to get you set for week number 3. This is the FanDuel Live Q&A right here on the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter channels. My name is Jim Sonis. I am a senior writer and analyst for numberFire.com, joined here as always by Brandon Gdula and JJ Zachariason. JJ is the editor-in-chief of numberFire and FanDuel. JJ, we are on to week 3, and we dodged a lot of bullets from an injury perspective early on, but then Christian McCaffrey goes down last night, and things are not looking so hot. How you doing today?
I'm good. I got the red lights behind me because I'm out for blood in the snake draft. I'm ready to go. Gonna get that W here in week 3. Things are good aside from all the injury stuff for sure. I mean, the Christian McCaffrey hamstring issue is definitely a bummer.
Yeah, it was tough last night, and I think that injuries are always, they're difficult for sure. So tough to see that one play out that way. We'll see what happens with Christian McCaffrey, but also now Dalvin Cook banged up. I forgot DeAndre Hopkins too. So just a lot of gross stuff going on right now. Let's talk to Brandon Gdula, managing editor of numberFire.com. Brandon, we talked yesterday. It seemed like things would be pretty okay from an injury perspective, and things have changed a lot since then. So how you doing today?
Well, JJ said he's got the red lights on because he's out for blood. I'm wearing blue because I'm ice cold in this thing. So, but hey, we all know Derrick Henry starts his best fantasy performances after Thanksgiving. I know he had the week 2, but I play my best fantasy football during hoodie season, and it's officially hoodie season. So you guys,
I've got mine on too, so we're good. It's also house jeans season. I've got my house jeans on. First snake draft of the year, wearing the house jeans. So I feel like I am guaranteed a victory for this week, which would be my second consecutive victory because last week I basically doubled you guys up. Just not to brag, but definitely to brag. Definitely to brag. Derrick Henry doing some serious work for the team. I did nothing. Derrick Henry did everything, and it was a delight to watch him wreck, which means I'm pretty much guaranteed a loss this week, especially given the way that I was talking about that. So we'll see how things play out there. We're going to do our snake draft here in just a bit. First, I do want to start by talking about those injuries that we've had come down the pipe here for today. Brandon, I'll start things off with you because Dalvin Cook, I kind of assumed he'd be good to go. It seems like he still might be based on interpreting what the beat writers have been saying. I think he'll play Sunday, but my read on that is not entirely clear right now. So let's assume for a second that Dalvin Cook does not play. How would you view Alexander Mattison on FanDuel for the main slate?
Well, when are we going to find out that Dalvin's not going to play?
Adam Schefter will tweet it at 11:47 on Saturday night. I guarantee that's when we're going to find out.
You don't think it'll be...
Shefty doesn't miss. No,
you don't.
He would never let us down. He would.
You think we'll have this information before the 1 o'clock?
I hope so.
Let's assume. Let's assume that we do.
I really hope so.
Okay, if we assume we do, Alexander Mattison would have some interest, but with Saquon Barkley at 6,000, I want to make sure that I don't really pivot too much off of Saquon. I was kind of approaching this from the perspective of if we don't know until right before the 4 o'clock games, because that's going to change everything.
Yeah, I think the good thing is that there are a lot of high salary guys in that late slate. You can swap on to more of the Tampa Bay versus Los Angeles game. You can swap on to more of the Seattle, Minnesota game. You will have options for late swap if you use him and he can't go.
You will, but we talked about this week possibly flexing receivers.
Yes.
And so if you play Dalvin Cook, you basically have to have him in the flex.
Yes.
You cannot play him with the receiver in the flex because there's nowhere to pivot aside from Chris Carson.
Yeah,
it's because Josh Jacobs is banged up. He's doubtful. I think it was the designation for him. You have Chris Carson, and then you have eating a bunch of salary for
you could put Madison
Henderson,
and then just pay up at receiver.
Yeah, but you're going to be very no, because I'm saying if you have a receiver already in the flex.
No, if you,
I mean, you can bump. Yeah, I guess you can bump up a bit, but I mean, I don't know.
I believe. You
also have to make sure that your receiver is not locked. It's going to be.
I believe in Shefty. JJ, let's assume that we hear in advance that there's no Dalvin. How are you viewing Alexander Mattison there?
I mean, I think they're going to be able to run the ball. I would say that he's in play. I mean, to Brandon's point, you could realistically have Dalvin in a running back spot and then just swap to Mattison and then just try to have that flexibility in the flex, right?
Yeah.
But again, to Brandon's point, you're gonna lose out. I mean, you're gonna have to like if you look at this, like you're gonna have like a Van Jefferson in there where you can like move up and bump up to one of the expensive guys in that game or something like that, as opposed to, already having Mike Evans in there or something like that. Cause you're not gonna be able to get that cap relief.
Right.
Or spend, use that excess cap. So yeah, I mean, I think he's in play. I too, though, am on the Saquon train this week. So, I don't want to overdo it and overthink it. And there's obviously a decent chance that Dalvin Cook still goes. And you might actually get better numbers for Saquon as a result of that, just because people are going to be on Madison. And if he doesn't go, then they're going to be, they're screwed in a way. I think that it could play to your advantage, the fact that there's some question marks about the situation.
Couple other injury notes I wanted to go through before we do the actual draft here right now. I'll start things off with you, JJ. No Deontay Johnson for the Steelers in week number 3. They're facing the Bengals. Bengals defense hasn't been too bad through the first 2 weeks. Steelers offense has struggled, but it does open up targets for guys like Chase Claypool, Juju Smith-Schuster. Overall downgrade for the offense, though. So how are you viewing Claypool and Juju given the injury to Deontay Johnson?
Yeah, I mean, this game is just kind of ugly in general. I'm not really that interested in it. But I will say, I think Claypool is someone who should always be on your tournament radar. I mean, he has been for me the first 2 weeks of the season. Hasn't panned out, obviously, but he's someone who has that big game ability and big play ability. He's going to still see some vertical routes, but the nice part here with Claypool is that he'll be out there in 2 wide receiver sets, which I wouldn't be shocked if we see a decent amount of that, of some 12 personnel in this game, because they did run Pat Freiermuth a little bit more last week, more than Ebron last week. And so I wouldn't be shocked if we see that. And then obviously the guy who would get bumped up a little bit would be James Washington, but he's sort of on like that perimeter, maybe just throw him in as a cheap wideout, sort of just randomly here and there. He's that kind of play, but I think Claypool is kind of intriguing just because the upside's there. He sees down the field targets. Juju, regardless, I think Juju's going to play a similar role. I think he'll see a volume bump, but he's still going to play that role, whereas that low average depth of target is just not very attractive.
Yeah, especially for DFS. That's not a role we really want to target, especially in an unattractive game. Final one to go through here quickly is DeAndre Hopkins, questionable with a rib injury, Brandon. We talked a lot about Rondale Moore on the show yesterday on the Heat Check Fantasy podcast about how we viewed Rondale Moore and saying, okay, the routes may be limited, but because he's productive, we can still justify him. How is your view of Rondale Moore shifting from that baseline now that DeAndre Hopkins is not at full health, at least?
I mean, it would go up. I was going to make a joke that if Hopkins doesn't play, that opens up a whole 18% of the targets, which just kind of speaks to how spread out things have been. Obviously, you would expect Hopkins to get up to at least 25% long-term. But if they're going to spread the ball around, then he might be kind of capped. But I mean, Rondale Moore would be obviously the top option there, but I don't think any of us are ever going to use AJ Green again. But Rondale Moore at, I think, 5,600 or 57, and then Christian Kirk, if even 56 would be in play. But Rondale Moore, I think, would be quite popular this week if there's no Hopkins.
Week 3, I don't hate myself enough yet to use AJ Green. So we're still good as far as avoiding that as of right now. Okay, we're going to get to the snake draft now. Then we'll go through your questions via YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter. Get those questions in now. But JJ, let's launch this puppy up and get this snake draft started.
Before I go, I am going to. I have zero strategy going into this right now.
I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know who my second ranked player is right now.
Yeah, this is probably. I think that we should warn viewers. This is probably the most unpredictable draft that we're going to have.
Be a little D-gaffy.
Yes, I got the 101. Let's go.
Okay, I didn't.
So 101 this week, I think, is very clearly Derrick Henry with the Dalvin Cook injury.
Yeah. 102. I just said I don't know who my second ranked player is. I said in our Slack chat that I wanted the third ranked pick over the second ranked pick, and I didn't get that. So,
and one name we haven't talked about from a salary cap standpoint is Alvin Kamara. at 8,000 coming off a dud. Like I'm gonna have to, if Jim doesn't take him, I'm gonna have to think about it. But I don't really want to take him against the Patriots.
Yeah, it's just an ugly game, right? Like it's just and honestly, I think that what we saw. You look at the combination of what we saw from New Orleans in week 1 against Green Bay, and then how Green Bay's defense played, especially in the first half against Detroit in week 2. And then obviously how New Orleans offense played in week 2. And you're kind of like, maybe New Orleans offense isn't going to be very good this year. It's just concerning, even though his market share numbers are there. So I'm going to take Derrick Henry with the 101.
All right. I'm going to go Tyreek. I don't want to deal with running back right now. We're going to kick that can down the road.
Yeah. The thing is though with Derrick Henry is that it's not a stackable game at all. Like in this environment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So I was really hoping I avoided pick 3 because I had the clear number. I had the clear top 2.
What was the top 2? Was it Tyreek?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh boy. All right. I'm going to go with a DK Metcalf here.
Okay.
I love DK. I love this game. I think there are going to be ways for me to stack it. Now, my question is, obviously, Dalvin, do I go Justin Jefferson already? Probably not. I could.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with, this will give me other ways. I need stackability. I'm going to go with Travis Kelce.
Okay. I thought you were going to go with the guy who I want to stack in that game, and Austin Eckler. I know he's down the projection list. But I think he's the number 2 running back right now, right? With Dalvin being questionable.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that he probably is close to that.
Is that weird? Is that weird?
I'm gonna have to pivot to another game. I think
he might. I think he might be number 2, but I think it's a close enough because like salary wise, when we're talking like traditional DFS this week, Eckler's great, but I think maybe there are a lot of
Name one.
Name one. Well, I mean, like Kamara. I think Saquon probably projects out, honestly, fairly similarly. Nick Chubb. Like.
Yeah.
Man, this is rough. I really don't want Kamara. I'm gonna go with I'm going Titans onslaught.
All right. I've reached my tipping point. I give him 80% chance he plays. Just do it. Let's go Dalv.
This is such a I like you can go in so many different directions. I kind of wish that I had a strategy going into this because
is all over the place.
Yeah, I really just played that turn just trying to play some stacks.
Oh boy, I need running backs now.
So you're going to go with like Tyler Conklin to get a game stack there, Brandon, or what are you doing?
No, I took Justin Jefferson.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Well, I was not paying attention to what you were doing. When did you take Jefferson? Oh, you just took
now.
It. Oh, you're picking. I thought it was JJ's pick. Okay.
No. JJ's at the other end of this thing, man.
Yeah, whatever.
All right, I got to go Kamara because I need 2 running backs. So.
Yeah, I didn't want to deal with that, but I do want to get access to that Vikings-Seahawks game. So I'll go Tyler Lockett and get him there.
I was probably a little overconfident to think I could get Eckler on the way back. I just didn't know how, like, again, we love him from a salary cap standpoint. I just didn't know how people view him relative to like Nick Chubb or Joe Mixon or something like that. I guess Mixon's a lower salary anyway, but
I am going to go with
there's Jonathan Taylor.
Chris Godwin next because I have Cooper Kupp.
Okay.
And I will go with man, I really want to I need another running back, don't I? I'm gonna
Patterson. Do it.
I went Saquon.
Okay, so he goes to Saquon. I like that pick. I'm gonna go with Mahomes because I have Tyreek and Eckler. I think I'd probably go Kyler over him, like in a vacuum. But to get the correlation there with Tyreek and Eckler, I feel like I can't turn that down.
The problem with this week is that drafting on this, because all the projections are like really tight.
Yeah.
Like you can scroll and like get a guy who you would not be shocked would be the wide receiver 1 on the week.
Right. Speaking of which, I got to figure out what I'm doing with my final pick. Oh, geez. Okay.
I tried to go fast so I could screw you guys up.
Diggs is there. I should just go Diggs, right? I should go Diggs.
I almost went Stephon Diggs, and I almost took Josh Allen for a 3rd straight week. He's basically the reason.
So you're the reason you cursed him. Oh my gosh, I figured it out. Josh Allen's not broken. He's been cursed by Brandon.
I feel like I have to just go with Kyler Murray, right?
Yeah.
Like I have the least correlated lineup of all time.
Hey, welcome to the club.
Wow.
My goodness.
Okay, so it's missing one of JJ's players. Let's refresh this here. I feel good about my lineup.
I feel awful. I can explain exactly where I screwed up because I was just panicking with the time.
Okay, so let's pull up JJ's lineup here. You've got Kyler, and then you've got both the Tennessee guys with Derrick Henry and AJ Brown. Then you've got that game stack between the Bucs and the Rams. Where's that mistake you were talking about?
I think AJ Brown was just a reach.
Okay.
I did it on like a whim of like trying to get some correlation going and just saying, all right, Tennessee onslaught, let's do this. AJ Brown scores a couple to start. Derrick Henry scores a couple to close it. But I in hindsight, I really wish I would have gone like Justin Jefferson. I think he was still available, and then I would have run it back with like a Chris Carson or something. With my RB2 spot, but going with Saquon's fine. And of the games, I think the Chiefs Chargers is my favorite, but I think that the Bucs Rams is a very, very intriguing game. The Rams against the Bucs, the last two times Sean McVay has faced the Bucs, when the Bucs have had good rush defenses during that time, he's basically had a 4.0 pass to rush ratio. Basically, he's basically been throwing it 4 times as much as he's been running it. So we should see a lot of passing in that game. And then, Antonio Brown up in the air, I think still with COVID. I don't think he's going.
I think he's out. I'm pretty sure he's out.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume because he was an actual positive. So with that too, we're going to see a little bit more volume probably to Godwin and Evans. So I feel decent about that game stack.
One thing to keep in mind with the Rams, though, is that they got a quarterback downgrade since that last time that they faced the Bucs. So just keep that in mind. Okay, let's go to Brandon's lineup over here. I love Russ. I think Russ is an amazing DFS play this week. So I actually do like that quite a bit. I know you might not have liked your lineup, but I like that pick specifically a lot, personally.
The rest of the lineup,
though. I didn't like my lineup?
No, I said you might not like it, but I like it because you have Russ. I think Russ is a great play this week. I don't know your thoughts on it. I'm just saying I like it because it has Russ.
I like the lineup outside of the running backs. I felt like the running backs here were just kind of obligation picks.
Yeah.
But I mean, I got the Russ DK stack, which is possibly my favorite of the week, bringing that back with Justin Jefferson. Can never really feel bad about Travis Kelce. And I mean, if I apply JJ's logic here, Russ throws 2 or 3 to DK. Justin Jefferson has 4 of his own to keep that game competitive. Kamara goes for 6 again. So I think, I can talk myself into loving this line.
To 300 fantasy points.
I think that game might be the best of the week. I know I like Chiefs Chargers a lot, but that one might be the best game of the week. And that's why I wanted to get a stack of it with Dalv and Lockett. Just Dalv. You need a rib? No, it's an ankle. My ankles aren't very good. I don't know if that would help you a lot, but so like a care package, like some icy hot or something. I don't know. We'll try to get Dalv out there for Sunday. Obviously, everything hinges on that. We'll see. I don't know.
I mean,
I think I like Jim's lineup best. Pretty.
Yeah, but Dalv might not play, so it should be the best because it's very risky and there's no floor.
It's just a sweet. I mean, that's the way it should be built, though. I love Eckler this week. I was mad that you. I was mad that you got him in the second because I was hoping that I would get him at the turn.
So would you guys rank him second straight up at running back? So that's where I'm at
right now. Yeah, I mean, look, he finally saw the week 1 doesn't see any targets. Week 2 finally sees a target share that we expect from Eckler, and he's seeing goal line work. And they didn't run a goal line play in week 2, but he did get that 2-point conversion. So they're clearly using him in that role.
Okay, so we'll see how this plays out. Update on the standings for next week. Let's get some questions starting off on YouTube with Raymond. He's asking about how we should look at Zeke right now, given Tony Pollard's emergence. JJ, what you doing with Zeke if you've got him on a season-long roster?
I mean, look, obviously expectations are a little bit different. I'm kind of getting not frustrated, but there's this really, really strong narrative that Tony Pollard is light years better than Zeke as a player. And while I would not disagree about the fact that he looks a lot more electric with the ball in his hands, and he's definitely a more fun player than Zeke is. they're using him in they're using him in like a sort of hybrid type role where they're getting him, they're running plays to get him the ball specifically. If you look at their snap shares, it's really not that. I mean, it's fairly lopsided between him and Zeke.
77% for Zeke and 30% for Pollard.
Yeah, and then you look at their usage, and it's not as lopsided. It's because they're trying to get Tony Pollard the ball when he's on the field, and that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying anything bad about Tony Pollard here. I'm more so saying that things aren't as grim, I think, for Zeke necessarily. It just depends on where your expectations are. If your expectations are the same as they were entering the season, then things are a little bit worse for Zeke. But, from a season-long perspective, I think he can still be a low-end RB1 this season. Like, I don't think that's really out of question, considering they're a good offense. He's going to see some goal line work. He's going to score. He still saw like a 7-8% target share this past week. I don't think that he's in the running back position sucks in general. So it's not like it's that difficult to really get like close to that top 10 range. But yeah, temper expectations a little bit from where we were. I'd say that he's a hold right now. He was probably a little bit more of a buy after week 1. More of a hold right now, but and then Tony Pollard, he's a startable running back as well at this point.
And the thing is, like, that matchup against the Chargers is one where you want, like, they want you to run the ball against them. Like, they tell you just do it, and like they did. So like that was, it's going to be I'm not sure the role for Paul will be as good as that, but I think that also means we shouldn't worry as much about Zeke potentially. Tanantha says, looking at some flyers in the waiver wire, thoughts on Quintez Cephas and Zach Pascal. Do you like them over Tim Patrick, Van Jefferson, or Nyheim Hines? Brandon, thoughts on this one for you? We're looking at Quintez Cephas or Zach Pascal, and then would you take them over any of those other 3 dudes?
I have Cephas projected for the most air yards this week.
Of any player?
Yeah. Not of these 5 guys specifically, but just of literally anybody.
I was like, wow, of course, man. I know Jared goes bombs away, but like,
of course. These 5, I would either go Cephas or Patrick myself.
What about Cephas versus Tyreek Hill?
Well, I have Cephas projected for the most air yards of anybody. So okay.
Let's go to Joseph on YouTube. He needs 2 backs and a flex this week between Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase without Higgins, DeAndre Swift, Rondale Moore, or Trey Sermon. We did see Sermon practicing today, but so did Elijah Mitchell. So JJ, 2 running backs and a flex out of that group. Who you got?
Yeah, I think I saw that someone else said that Elijah Mitchell might be doubtful. Okay. Yeah, Elijah Mitchell's doubtful. So it's going to be the Trey Sermon show. Okay. I mean, I shouldn't say it's going to be a show because it's probably not going to go very well. But I mean, it'll be
against the Packers defense. It might be pretty good.
That's true. Who were the options again for that one? Okay, so
it looks like Joseph is your head right now, so I took the comment down. But
I got you. For me,
also your T-shirt's kind of aligned perfectly there, so it's even better.
That's very true.
Okay.
For me, looking at these in a half PPR league, I might have a tough time. I know the matchup isn't as great, but I might have a tough time just benching DeAndre Swift in general. Just because the volume that he's seeing out of the backfield. I think Jamar Chase is a really good play. I mean, I think all these guys are really good plays. I mean, this is a 10-team league. You have a pretty stacked team. If you're going with, you need 2 backs and a flex, I'm going DeAndre Swift. I'd probably still go Joe Mixon over Trey Sermon because we just don't know. And then I think I'm still going, we don't know about with DeAndre Hopkins right now, then Jamar Chase would be the flex.
Okay. Let's go to Andrew on Facebook, and we'll send this one to Brandon. We talked about Odell a bit yesterday, but I think I would say my enthusiasm / willingness to use Odell has gone up because they said today he's confirmed in. He's been a full practice this week. So my sentiment on Odell has changed, but Andrew wants to know, how are you thinking about Odell in his first start against the Bears?
If it's season long and you need a receiver, sure. For DFS, when we have other options, I don't love this game too much unless you think Justin Fields gets this offense moving and there's some back and forth. But I'd honestly just maybe I guess there's really not a whole lot right near OBJ in terms of salary, but bumping down, we have Mike Williams in a great game. And then Robert Woods at 6,100 also in a great game. And I think Woods is due for a lot of regression. So again, season long, absolutely. If you need him, I'd feel comfortable, but I prefer some other lower salary guys straight up from FanDuel perspective.
What I would say is that it increases my willingness to use Odell in my Fields lineups. If I go Fields, Mooney, Odell, I think that is pretty in play. So that's the one thing I would say that changes for me. Let's talk to Jerry. Guys, do you like a Giants and Falcon stack with Daniel Jones and then Galladay or Shepard? Galladay questionable. So we'll see on that one with a mix of Cordero Patterson and Mike Davis. You guys, thoughts on this? I feel like it could be a less popular stack. I'll take this one. I would say I don't want Mike Davis. Mike Davis is not getting the kinds of touches you want because he's not going to get as much red zone usage, doesn't seem. Facing a tougher defense, so I wouldn't go there. I would say, Jerry, if you want to roll out a stack of that game, Kyle Pitts, Calvin Ridley, the very much preferred options for bringbacks on the Falcon side of things. I think Pitts is pretty good, but I would say Jones with Saquon, Galladay. If we get the all clear on Galladay, I would like him quite a bit there. Let's talk to Joey. Need 2 flex players between Brandon Aiyuk, Christian Kirk, Nyheim Hines, or Cordero Patterson. JJ, who you got between those 4? 2 out of those.
How crazy is it that the one guy that sticks out most here is Cordero Patterson?
He's the best player. Best player of the group. Good on talent, man.
So I'm going to go with Patterson as 1. And I think that you can play the inactive game. Oh, that's the Hopkins is playing on 1, right? The Cardinals.
Yes.
So if
I had to think for a second there.
If Hopkins is out, I would go with Christian Kirk. If he's not out, I think I might go with Nyheim Hines, depending on the format here. I wouldn't be shocked if we see a negative game script for Indy. One of the 2 games that we've seen from Indy, they really heavily targeted that backfield. And if that negative game script hits, then Hines could walk into like 4 or 5 receptions.
Yeah, I think that it won't go well for the getting a positive script for Jonathan Taylor there.
Yeah.
Let's talk to Richie. He has a good options here, Brandon. Terry McLaurin or Deebo Samuel at the flex. I say, ¿por qué no los dos? What do you say here?
I think I answered this one yesterday on the stream, but I went with Terry McLaurin, even though Washington's implied team totals, I think, a full 7 points lower. I just love the workload for McLaurin. I don't think you can really have a wrong answer in it. In this instance, this is one of those where I say, I like Terry McLaurin better, but if you, Richie, have a strong preference, you're not going to really pick wrong.
Okay, let's go to Pat over on YouTube, and I'll take this one, asking for who makes a better value this week, given the sudden relevance of Quintez Cephas or Jacoby Myers. You could not pay me to use a non-Alvin Kamara player in that Saints-Patriots game. So Quintez Cephas, because I can run him in Lamar Jackson, Marquise Brown, or Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews stacks. I refuse to touch players in that Patriots Saints game.
And I have Cephas projected for the most air yards of anyone in NFL history.
Correct. Cortland Sutton at 260 last week, 263 for Quintez Cephas this week. Larry is asking Kirk or Pascal. So JJ, I'm assuming this one depends on the DeAndre Hopkins status, or would you go Kirk regardless here?
I might go Kirk regardless. I just like the game environment a little bit more for him.
DJ's asking Melvin Gordon or David Montgomery. Give me David Montgomery. I know they're underdogs, but he's not splitting work, and Melvin is. Pretty easy one for me there. Let's go to DJ. Well, I'll ask you this one, Brandon. Saquon Barkley with an 80% workload. Is that enough to start him?
Yeah, that's a pretty good
light him up, baby.
Pretty good workload. Especially starting him implies season long. Yeah, absolutely.
All righty. Let's go. Oopsies. Wow. I just skipped like 16 questions there. Let's go with Nate. With Fields starting his first game, do you trust Allen Robinson over Shepard, Claypool, or Javonte? So JJ, we get Justin Fields, which, as you've mentioned a couple times, we should keep expectations in check for rookie quarterbacks. These guys that we're competing with here are not like full-blown studs. Claypool gets a bump up. Shepard gets a lot of volume. So would you use Robinson over them? How are you handling the situation?
I think I like the other receivers more this week, only because I feel like they're a little bit safer. Shepard's seeing like elite target shares right now, like top 10-ish in the league. And Claypool's going to get that big bump without Deontay Johnson there. So, this comes down to Javonte or Allen Robinson. I think Javonte is probably safer because we know that he's going to see 10 plus touches in that game. Positive game script for him. Wouldn't shock me if he's able to find the end zone. I might just let it be this week with Allen Robinson. I know that sounds crazy, but they have not been good at all offensively. 3 touchdowns through 2 games. Typically rookie quarterbacks are not good for their pass catchers and mobile quarterbacks aren't good for their pass catchers. I don't want anyone to take that as This is not an upgrade from Andy Dalton because Andy Dalton hasn't pushed the ball down the field, but don't overstate what this means, especially in the first game back. So I don't mind, and it's not a great matchup either. So I don't like fully mind Allen Robinson, but I think the options are good enough where you can just see how it goes. If he blows up, great, you still have him and you can feel good about him. But there's also a decent chance that doesn't happen.
Okay, final one here from Ogilvy. Please rank Manuel Sanders, Christian Kirk, Tim Patrick, and Kenny Golladay. And Brandon, we talked about Manny a tiny bit yesterday as being like an interesting guy from a low salary perspective because that game is not the worst, honestly. And Manny's getting a lot of deep targets. So how would you rank Manny compared to Kirk, Tim Patrick, and Kenny G?
Ranking them, I'd probably go Golladay, Manny, Kirk, Patrick.
I agree.
Manny, as you alluded to, 3.5 downfield targets per game, 123 air yards per game, really good role. Should have about 11.5 half PPR points per game, but as it's 6.5, so he's a big regression candidate. Honestly, Stephon Diggs, too, that whole offense should get a lot better once Josh Allen starts to connect.
All righty. Well, that is going to wrap it up for the snake draft for today. MLB DFS Q&A coming up in just 1 second. First, got to send a big thank you to both Brandon Gdula and JJ Zachariason for swinging by and hopefully letting me dominate again this week in the snake draft. Brandon, good luck to you with your Quintez CFS projection, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Yeah, I'm looking for the 900 air yard game from Quintez CFS this week.
All right, 900. I'll take the under. Let's go. Appreciate you, JJ. Thank you for swinging by as well. And one final time for you to plug Late Round Podcast if you want here too.
Yeah, search for the Late Round Podcast anywhere podcasts can be found.
All righty. Big thank you to Brandon and JJ for that follow. Brandon on Twitter at Gdula13 and find JJ at Late Round QB. And with that, let's transition now into the MLB Q&A for this Friday night slate. And it's one that makes me a tiny bit uncomfortable, for being completely honest here, because pitcher is tough because we are heading into the final week of the regular season, which means we have a lot of teams out there that don't have anything on the line, meaning they either have already locked in a playoff spot and essentially are locked into their seed, a la the Chicago White Sox are in that zone. The Milwaukee Brewers have been there for like 16 months at this point. Don't know what the usage will be on those pitchers. You don't know how long to let Dylan Cease go in this game because, they might not care all that much how that game goes. We also have to consider teams that aren't in the playoffs and they conserve their players for next year. Sonny Gray is a guy who kind of falls in that bucket. And if we're looking for guys who are on teams with massive motivation and really need a win for this week, we're dealing with a lot of dudes in tough matches. We pull up the heat chart over here. We see we've got Nathan Eovaldi against the Yankees and Garrett Cole against the Red Sox. Those are the two guys with like massive playoff motivation. You could put Alex Wood in that consideration as well. Alex Wood facing the Rockies, though, he's at Coors Field. He only went 37 pitches in his first game back, so he's not at full length there. As far as the Giants go, they're starting Alex Wood. Dodgers have Tony Gonsolin. He doesn't go deep in games. So if we want like high motivation situations where we are looking at teams that need wins, we're looking at some pretty tough situations. So I have Nathan Eovaldi number one. My confidence in that is pretty low. So get your questions in no matter where you're watching. We'll take them live here on air to get you set for Friday night slate of MLB DFS. But if you got some lingering NFL questions, we can talk about those too. We'll take one here from DJ on Facebook. How will Aiyuk do this week against the Packers, Jim? He did run more routes in week 2 than he ran in week 1. I think that makes sense because we were talking about that hamstring injury with Aiyuk, and Kyle Shanahan said it seemed like he was implying that was what had held Aiyuk back. So it's possible the role expands. I don't think it's right to assume the role expands. That could just be his role, rotating out Trent Sherfield, where, they will keep him at about like 2/3 or so of the routes run for this team. And that's pretty tough. So I think that I'm okay being cautious with Aiyuk still. I think that it's better now than it was after week 1. But it's still not a situation where I'm like actively seeking him out. So hopefully that helps there, DJ. Let's go to Diffuse right now. Locked in on either pitcher in the Red Sox-Yankees game currently. That's where I'm at right now as well, Diffuse. I had talked this morning about Dylan Cease, and I do still think Cease has a slight edge over Garrett Cole. Part of the reason, and I have Eovaldi 1, so I agree there. I think Eovaldi's 1, and then it's decided between Cease 2 or Garrett Cole 2. part of the reason why I decided to stick with Cease at 2 by a tiny hair over Garrett Cole is that I didn't get my guy Brett Phillips in this game for the Tampa Bay Rays. I was hoping Phillips would play because it gives us one more really high power value guy in this lineup. Instead, we did get Ji-Man Choi. He's fine. I like him. Joey Wendell's okay. I don't mind Francisco Mejia as being like a potential option on this Rays team versus righties. Mejia has a 177 ISO, 49% fly ball rate. He can hit some yaks at times. So I think that Mejia is at least in play, and I'm okay to use him. But I really wished it would have been Phillips. That would have made things a lot easier on me. So let's just do this here and build out a Cole lineup with the Rays, because it is tough. If we go with Ji-Man Choi, let's get Wendell in at shortstop. Let's go third base. And then we'll go over here. We'll put Meadows in, and I'll put Mejia in there just because I'll need the salary savings. So that puts me at 34.50 left. That I can stack the Giants with that. I can get Tommy LaStella in at second base. Whoopsies. I can get Brandon Crawford in there and stuff like that. But it is restrictive. So if you're going Dylan Cease instead, you have the ability to stack the Giants with the Dodgers. I was tinkering around like some preliminary lineups earlier on, depending on what I expect the lines to look like, and it did work to go with the Giants and the Dodgers with Cease. So it's very risky to go with Dylan Cease because the White Sox have locked up the AL Central. Not a whole lot on the line there. So I'm worried about motivation, worried about pitch count for Dylan Cease. It does help that he's going to be very good when he's out there because Cease has a 35 or 37 or 36% strikeout rate over his past 10 starts with fewer changeups. So while he's out there, I think he'll be very good. That's a good thing for Cease, but worried enough about the workload where I do at least consider Cole. So Diffuse, if you want to go with Cole 2 over Cease, I will not push back. But to me, Eovaldi is kind of the no-brainer at number 1 for tonight. Let's talk to Jeremiah asking for the top 3 stacks for today. I would say the Giants are 1 out of Coors Field facing Peter Lambert. The Giants are an amazing offense. You put them in Coors Field against a pitcher who I'm rooting for because Lambert missed all of last year with Tommy John, making his first start this year. You want to pull for guys like that. So I hope he does well. But I still think the Giants are the top stack. I think the Dodgers are 2 facing Humberto Castellanos out in Phoenix. The roof is confirmed open at Chase Field for today. So that is a 91-degree game. No other games in the slate are above 80. So Dodgers number 2 for me. I had the Rays number 3. And I think Jeremiah, like if you're trying to get to Cole or Eovaldi while stacking the good players on the Giants and Dodgers, it's okay to bump the Rays up. Build a lineup where you have Eovaldi, a pitcher, and then the Giants, and then stack the Rays. Eovaldi with the Dodgers and stack the Rays. It may wind up where you have the Rays above the Dodgers and Giants just because they give you so much value. But I think if I'm ranking them straight up, I would go Giants 1, Dodgers 2, Rays 3. You can get there via some one-offs potentially, but it does depend a bit on what lineups look like. So let's go back over here and see if we have lineups for the Dodgers or the Rockies. Oh, wait, or for the Giants. Okay, so we got the Giants lineup. No Dickerson. He is $2,300. I didn't bump him up, so I was kind of hoping he might be in there. We got Wade, batting cleanup. Okay, so let's build out a Giant stack with Eovaldi in there. Let's get Crawford. Let's do LaStella first. LaStella. It'd help if I could spell. All right, we got LaStella there. Let's get Wade in there because he is under salary. And we have Longoria batting 7th. That works. I can get behind that. I think I can get Belt because I'll probably have this as being a Rays option. So let's put Belt in there. And then, because I want Ji-Man Choi. And then let's go with Crawford by a hair over Longoria. I could put Wendell at third base, stuff like that. So I can make that work pretty easily. I think that lineup worked out pretty well for the Giants. So feeling good about the Giants stack based on the way their lineup did pan out. Let's go over to, thank you for posting the lineup in there, Michael. I do appreciate that. Diffuse, either side of Camden Yards for value. Let's go back over here. Okay, so the Rangers are facing Alexander Wells. I think one-offs are okay. I will never stack the Rangers again. It was stupid. It shouldn't have done that. So that was on me. I think DJ Peters at $2,400 works as a one-off in the outfield. $2,400. He got some pop. He's batting seventh, so like it's not super high in the order, but he has power. I like that. So I would say Peters works. Adolis Garcia's a bit. He's in a range where there are other guys and stacks that I want to use. So like I don't want to use him with like AJ Pollock or something like that, or Lamont Wade. So don't really want to go there. But DJ Peters specifically works. Let's see, and Andy Ibanez, I've had him in some because I just need to fill second base for $2,800. So Ibanez works. I mind Peters. I think they're both fine. Maybe Culberson as well. I think those three guys could work. As far as the Orioles, I probably won't get there. Spencer Howard has been doing better at suppressing hard contact. He's had fewer fastballs his past 6 starts, 33% hard hit rate allowed, and a 35% fly ball rate. So not super into the Orioles, and the lineup not out yet, so we can't check there. But I do think that Peters works, and I would say that Culberson could be there. Ibanez could be there, specifically if you just need to fill second base. Let's talk to Jeremiah, saying the exact same thing. Texas and the Orioles looks tempting. Yeah, I think that the Rangers are fine. Just for one also, I don't want to go full stack just because they're so bad. I agree that like they look good because Wells has struggled, but it's hard for me to prioritize a team that's that bad against lefties. So yeah, I think for one-offs, they do work. Let's talk to Salvatore. Matt Olson at $4,200, Brandon Belt at $3,800, or Salvador Perez at $3,500. Thank you for putting the salaries in there, Salvatore, because I often forget those. So I do appreciate that. I would say Belt. I just want exposure to Coors Field, and Brandon Belt is amazing. So Brandon Belt to me, awesome option for today. Also put in Adolis Garcia at 34. Yeah, I think I want those guys above him for sure. Austin on Twitch. Hello, question for this week. Juju with Deontay Johnson now, or Cortland Sutton at the flex, full PPR? Give me Cortland Sutton there. I know you have the Steelers in your avatar, so I'm sorry, Austin. I hope that's not like offensive. What I would say is that Cortland Sutton got a lot of work last week and he gets downfield work. Nothing against Juju, but the way that they use him in that offense, it isn't super conducive to upside games, whereas Sutton could be. So I would go Sutton there. Pretty big bummer to not have Deontay Johnson. It does help Juju, but like I just want those downfield looks to get points in a hurry, and Sutton will get those. Michael, which Dodgers would you prioritize in a stack? I would probably rank them number 1, Will Smith, number 2, Will Smith, number 3, Will Smith, and number 4, Will Smith. With regards to the Dodgers for today, if I had to choose a non-Will Smith, I think that probably looking, let's just pull it up here. Let's see. I probably want Muncy, number 2. I think that's probably fair. Because the salary on Pollock is low, realistically, I'll have a lot of Pollock. He's $3,000. So I think that Pollock will wind up being a guy to whom I have a lot of exposure. Probably Betts next. So right now, I think it's Smith 1, Muncy 2, Betts 3 if you had the salary, Pollock 3 if you need to save salary, and then Seager would be 4. I like Corey Seager a lot, just hasn't had the same power. Actually, I put Trey Turner above Corey Seager. They're pretty much the same salary. So Turner above Seager because they're the same salary. Seager's power numbers haven't been as good since he came back. So we'll go ranking them out. We'll go with Smith 1, Muncy 2, Betts 3, Pollock 4, but okay to bump up Pollock if you need the salary savings. Turner 5 within that team. Jeremiah, any value pitchers? Not really. Like Sonny Gray is below 9,000. I think you could count him as a value, but I worry about pitch count there given they have nothing on the line. He's still been going decently deep in games, but that's also with the Reds at the time not having been fully eliminated, because I think they might have been officially limited yesterday. So now I'm not sure what they'll do with Gray, given that there's not as much on the line. So I think that Gray is fine, but I'd rather find a way to get up to Cease over him, even though, again, there's nothing on the line for them, or get up to Eovaldi. If we're looking for like actual value plays, I don't see a whole lot that stands out. Like Logan Gilbert's matchup is fine. He gets some strikeouts, but he lets us so much hard contact. Tough for me to get Jazz there. Tyler McGill facing the Brewers. He lets up a ton of hard contact. Nothing on the line for them either. So I think for me, Jeremiah, I want to set the floor at like Cease if I can, bumping down to Gray if I need to, but really, I think it's a good night to spend up a bit. DJ, do you like Kyle Gibson with a Kansas City and Dodgers stack? If so, how'd you build it? I do not like Kyle Gibson. He's facing the Pirates, which is very good matchup, but Not enough strikeout juice there. He is a 20% strikeout guy over his past 7 outings and more cutters. I think that's his entire time with the Phillies. Maybe it's one start after he joined them, but he's been throwing more cutters. I don't know why. His cutter's not like a great pitch that I would be looking to up the usage on. So bit confused about that. So no Gibson for me. Jerry says he loves Texas, Philadelphia, and Tampa Bay. What's your thoughts? I love Tampa Bay. Adore them. Definitely in on them for sure. So Tampa Bay, great option there. Texas, okay for one-offs. The Phillies are facing the Pirates bullpen. It's a bullpen game for the Pirates. I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I'm hesitant on the Phillies with the way things have gone. Okay, so we got basically like the lineup they would use versus righties. And that makes sense because there's only one other lefty in the Pirates bullpen. I'm guessing they'll probably be used at some point in this game, but I would say the Phillies are fine, especially for like one-offs, Jerry. Like I don't mind going with Brad Miller, Bryce Harper, obviously. I think they're better for one-offs than for full stacks. Salvatore says, I like Daniel Jones a lot this week. He's fine. He just hasn't had a good ceiling for the most part. I know he ran a bunch last week, but he needed 95 yards and a rushing touchdown to top 22 FanDuel points for the first time in like a decade, or since December of 2019 is the actual number. So he's fine. I think I'll be okay missing out if he blows up for this week. I know the matchup's great. I know he's been running, but like I'm not as sold given there are better games elsewhere. Let's talk to jflow 199 or 1992. Easier way to say that. Good job, Jim. Who's the better GPP play? KJ Osborn or Rondale Moore? So for tournaments, I kind of don't mind KJ Osborn just because like he's access to my favorite game this week. Not just saying this because you have a Vikings avatar. Promise. I'm not saying it because of that. But I think that you get access to that game, $5,100. So he is a $500 discount from Rondale Moore. Moore will probably be very popular. So I don't mind KJ Osborn. If you gave me one lineup, jflow 1992, I'd probably still go Rondale Moore. But like if the $500 savings gets you to something you really love, like if that $500 the difference between Travis Kelce and Darren Waller, I would go to Kelce to get I know it's not, but like if you can use those savings to get to something really desirable, I don't mind KJ Osborn. I will be using KJ Osborn this week, not a ton, but I will use enough where I can't say no. So like I wouldn't write off KJ Osborn in that situation for you, jflow 1992. Salvatore, Ohtani over under 4 walks. I'm going to say 3. He's getting close, Salvatore. We'll go 3 on that one. He's getting the Juan Soto treatment right now. DJ, how would you build a Kansas City stack? Facing Casey Mize. Mize has not been great recently. They've also been keeping him pretty short. The past 3 starts from Mize, 34, 48, 53. So, yeah, I think that you could definitely do that if you wanted to. I don't want to because the Royals are pretty bad, so I'm not really looking to get there. I would say I want Perez in there. I want Mondesi in there. Benintendi's been hitting the ball better recently, so I would say let's go with Perez, Benintendi, Mondesi, and O'Hearn for a Royals stack for me. DJ says, just a heads up, the Astros are a bullpen game now because Greinke was scratched. Okay, so let's go over here. That's the Athletics game. So a bullpen game for the Astros. Their bullpen is pretty good. The park factor, not as bad tonight as usual. It's still pretty cold in Oakland, but not as bad as usual because other places are colder. So I'm probably still not going Astros despite that, but I appreciate the heads up for you, DJ. Jerry, do you like Alex Wood and Coors tonight? Not really, because he's going to be pretty short. He just came off the IL, and with 37 pitches, I would project him to be around 60 or so pitches tonight. Not enough. So I would exclude Alex Wood from your player pool. DJ, stack the Reds with Garrett Cole. So the Reds are facing Paulo Espino. Espino does let up hard contact. It's a good park for hitting. Don't mind that. Espino gets strikeouts. So he's not like a terrible pitcher, not a guy I'm actively seeking out, but the Rays got some power. I don't think that's the worst idea. If there's some salary savers in the Reds, let's go over here and check out salaries really quick on Cincinnati dudes. Check out Mustakin on the Schrock. Ooh, the Schrock Star is batting second. Oh, buddy. The Schrock Star. There we go. Okay. Why not? Let's do it. Let's see what he's been doing this year before I go all in on Max Schrock. Dun, 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 dun. All right. Max Schrock against righties this year. 161 ISO, but a 46% fly ball rate and some hard contact. I think it's Max Schrock season. Max Schrock at $2,100 at second base is a one-off. I like it a lot. So what could go wrong? If you need a one-off at second base, $2,100, Max Schrock doing it. That works. I'm into it. Fear Money Entertainment. Can you tell me why I'm getting so much of the Mets in my optimizer? Probably because I don't know what optimizer you're using, so I don't know. But anyway, I think the reason, if I had to guess, that there is optimism there is because Eric Lauer lets up a lot of hard contact. Lauer has been better recently. This is over his past 8 starts with more curveballs, 25% strikeout rate. That's not bad, but still letting up a 46% hard hit rate and a 46% fly ball rate. Those are numbers against which we can use batters. So although I'm not really looking to use the Mets today, I think that like one-offs, if Kevin Pillar plays, I think you could go to him. Pete Alonso is pretty good against lefties. I'd prioritize like Dodgers and Giants guys in that salary range, and even like Wander Franco in that same range too, if we're looking at just salary. But yeah, I think that the Mets are fine. I'm probably not as high on them that they're like in every optimizer, but like, I think that they're fine. Jeremiah, any Blue Jays? Okay, let's go check out the Jays. They are facing Bailey Ober. It's very cold in Minnesota, 58 degrees, the first pitch temperature at Target Field. It's a pretty big downgrade for that game. I will say that the Ober lets up a lot of hard contact and a lot of fly balls, so you could go at the Jays, but I would keep expectations in check just because the temperature in that game is so good. DJ asking, what do you know about Max Fried? He does have a good fantasy points per game. He's not in the FanDuel main slate because that game is the second half of a doubleheader. So I have not researched Max Fried because he's not in the main slate. So I can't give you a good answer, unfortunately, just because I didn't look into that one. Jerry, do you like Eovaldi? Love him. My top pitcher for today. It's a tough matchup. It's a very scary matchup. Could go wrong for sure, but he's a good pitcher. Over the past 11 starts, some more curveballs. Eovaldi has a 3.10 skill interactive ERA, 30% strikeout rate. He has a 4% walk rate. He's a stud. So I think Eovaldi's great. He's my top pitcher. We'll see. Oh, sorry, DJ. I totally misread your question. TJ Friedel, not Max Fried. My bad. Michael says Peter Lambert limited 60 pitches tonight. Yeah, he didn't go more than 48 in his rehab starts. So it's going to be like Lambert followed by bullpen, but I think that's still fine with regards to stacking the Giants for today. Jerry says McGill is a good matchup. He does, and he does get strikeouts. The concern that I would have with McGill is that he lets up a lot of hard contact. This is over his past 6 starts with fewer changeups and more sliders. So it's a small sample, but this has been true for a while now for McGill. 51% hard hit rate allowed with a 39% fly ball rate. The Mets, I think they've been officially eliminated from playoff contention. I'm pretty sure they have. So that's the worry with McGill. I would say, Jerry, that he's not off the table. I did consider him this morning when trying to figure out what value play to go with. I did consider McGill. I think you can consider him as well. Didn't get there over Gray because of concerns around length, but I think that you have an option. Travis Blankenhorn, 3 that keeps popping. I wouldn't do that. Blankenhorn's a lefty, so I wouldn't do that one. Upper 5'10", best hitting spots. Coors, and then out in Arizona for the Dodgers and Diamondbacks. The roof is open. That is a great thing for hitting, so we want to go Coors. We want to go Dodgers. Those are the best hitting spots in the slate by a significant margin, and I don't think anything else is really close in terms of like best environments for offense for today. Kyle, Logan Gilbert tonight, a little bit worried about the hard contact with him too. Again, fine matchup, but he just letting up a lot of hard contact. Ohtani might be the only guy who can take advantage of that. It's like, that's the thing, I guess. I guess Walsh can too, but I'm a little bit down. The strikeouts have been decreasing a bit recently. A lot of hard contact. I can see a path to him being good. So he's kind of similar to McGill, where it could be fine. I don't think I'll use him myself just because I worry about those issues, but there's a path to him being fine. I'll put it that way. Salvatore, looking forward to Yankees Red Sox series. It should be really fun. I mean, tonight, what better way to start things than Eovaldi versus Cole? Like, that's awesome. That's going to be really fun. Having like that atmosphere for that series this time of year, That's going to be very cool. Mr. Monte, Brad Miller value play. Yes. He's facing that Pirates bullpen, low salaried, has dinger upside. Totally fine with him. No objections out of me there. DJ, what is the ISO site you use? Okay, let's go over here. This is fangraphs.com. So go to fangraphs.com. You can build out your own leaderboards by going down here. You can pick stats you want to use. Like if you want age on there, you click on age, send it over to the left or to the right, and you'll have it on your leaderboard. Click create custom table, and it'll show you all the stats you care about. So for me, the ones that we have here are the stats that I want to see at a quick glance and get a quick overview of seeing how I want to value guys. Specifically ISO, strikeout rate, fly ball rate. Those are the key things for me. Stolen bases too. So go to fangraphs.com. Great site that I use religiously. I could not do my work without them. So thank you, Fangraphs, for being awesome. Would recommend doing a lot of research there, DJ. DJ also asking, do you like the Angels against Gilbert? Not really, because there are not a lot of dudes I want to use outside of like Ohtani. So not really in on the Angels there. Renee, Brad Miller, Ohtani, Muncy, Longoria, and Suarez at shortstop with Gibson at pitcher. I like Miller. Don't mind Ohtani, Muncy, Longoria, and Suarez. I would try to make it a bit more stacky, Renee. I would try to get some more correlation in there. So instead of, let's see here, instead of Ohtani, maybe check out like Mookie Betts, something like that. Instead of Suarez, maybe check out Brandon Crawford. I would try to get a bit more stacky, not as into Gibson at pitcher, just because of the lack of strikeouts. So I would try to just retool that to get some more correlated plays in there. And then that could work. I like all those guys in a vacuum. Like I'm cool with Miller, cool with Ohtani, cool with Muncy. I think Longoria is really fun. So I would say those individuals are good, and I'm okay building around them within the stack. Just try to find some more correlation in there. But the overall, I think you're identifying the correct players, correct kinds of players you want to use. That is all that we have here for today on this FanDuel Live Q&A, but we are back once again next week for the final week of the regular season. Should be a whole lot of fun. We'll see how that goes. One quick question here. S says Brad Miller had 2 at-bats yesterday, and then they pulled him. I think the good thing here is that they only have 1 lefty in the bullpen after the opener. So if they put Miller in there in the opening lineup, that means they intend to keep him in there. I think that's a good thing for him. So it's good to bring that up because guys who get pulled early frighten me. We should be wary of them. But the good thing is he is in the lineup when they're starting a lefty, only 1 more lefty in the bullpen after that. So I think that's a good thing for Brad Miller for today. But good thing to bring that up as well. Next week is the final week of the regular season. We'll still have this MLB Q&A 4:30 on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and at 4 p.m. on Wednesday. So make sure you are subscribed to the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter pages and swing back at 4 p.m. each day to get the NFL one or the MLB one following later on. If you've got more questions for me, I am on Twitter at Jim Sannes, JimSannes. Big thank you once again to Brandon Gdula and JJ Zachariason for joining me earlier on for the snake draft today. Follow Brandon on Twitter at Gdula13 and JJ at Late Round QB. Big thank you to Joy Affleck, our video producer, for running the video side of things here today. Thank you, Joy, as always. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. Good luck to you with your MLB DFS lineups for tonight. Good luck with your NFL lineups on Sunday. Hopefully some NASCAR lineups on Sunday too. Why not? We'll talk to you once again on Monday. This has been the FanDuel Live Q&A.